All right, let's get right into it. We're going to pull apart some of the most powerful, battle-tested investing lessons from, well, one of the greatest of all time. We're breaking down Warren Buffett's 2001 letter to Berkshire Hathaway shareholders, a letter that was forged, really, in the fire of a major crisis.
Now, to really get the genius of Buffett's thinking here, you have to put yourself back in that moment, 2001. The dot-com bubble had just imploded, literally vaporizing trillions of dollars in market value. And then came the gut punch of 9/11. Markets shut down. Fear was everywhere. This wasn't just a downturn. It was a period of just immense turmoil and uncertainty.
So, in a moment like that, when every single headline is screaming crisis, where does an investor find their true north? A framework that actually cuts through all that noise. Well, for a lot of people, then and now, the answer is right here, in this annual letter. We've broken this down into a 5-part masterclass. We're going to cover how to measure what actually matters, how to think about risks that seem unimaginable, why you need to be a corporate translator, and then finally, where Buffett was finding opportunities when pretty much everyone else just saw total chaos. So, let's begin. Look, this is way more than just a historical document. For any professional investor, this is a case study in how to keep your discipline and think rationally when it feels like the whole world is coming unglued. Okay. Lesson number 1, and this one is absolutely fundamental. If you don't know how you're keeping score, you can't possibly know if you're winning. Buffett has used the exact same scoreboard for his entire career, and believe me, it has nothing to do with absolute returns. Take a look at this table. It's right from the front of the letter, and it's the only one that truly matters to Buffett. It's not about being up when the market is up, it's all about that column on the far right, the relative result. I mean, look at 2001, a terrible year, right? Berkshire's book value fell 6.2%, but the S&P fell almost 12%. By Buffett's scorecard, that's outperformance. That's a win. And of course, the overall gain since '65 tells the real story. Nearly 200,000% for Berkshire versus under 5,000% for the S&P. That is the only scoreboard. And this wasn't some new idea he cooked up in 2001. This quote is from the ground rules he gave to his original partners way back in 1956. This discipline, this unwavering focus on relative performance against a clear benchmark, it's been his North Star from day one. The lesson for any investor is just crystal clear. Define your benchmark and measure absolutely everything against it. All right, so let's shift from performance to the bedrock of any investment operation, managing risk. And as we're about to see, even the masters get it wrong sometimes. And honestly, the lessons you learn from those mistakes, they're often the most valuable.
Buffett lays out these 3 commandments for his insurance business, but you can immediately see how this framework just applies to any portfolio, right? First, stay within your circle of competence. Second, make sure no single thing can wipe you out. And third, don't do business with crooks no matter how good the deal looks. It is just a beautifully simple, incredibly powerful framework for thinking about risk.
And here it is. This is really the intellectual climax of the whole letter. After laying out this perfect, rational rules, Buffett just delivers this devastatingly honest admission. He's saying, yeah, I saw the possibility of a major terrorist event, I could predict the rain, but I failed to act on it. He didn't build the ark, he didn't properly price that risk or limit Berkshire's exposure. It's just an absolute masterclass in accountability. So, what came after that admission is the crucial part. It was a cold, hard look at this new reality. The probability of these so-called black swan events, it's not zero. In fact, he argues it's probably growing. And the entire insurance industry had been basically taking on this massive risk for free. He concludes that only the U.S. government really has the balance sheet to absorb a true worst-case scenario. This became the new framework for thinking about these previously unimaginable tail risks. Okay, let's shift gears. We've talked risk management, now let's talk about something just as vital, intellectual honesty. Buffett spends a good chunk of this letter basically teaching his shareholders how to cut through corporate jargon to see what's really happening. You just have to love this analogy. He uses his classic wit to completely demolish the idea of pro forma earnings, which is just a fancy term for made-up profits. He calls it what it is. It's a way for management to show you a fantasy version of their results. The lesson here is simple. Whenever a company starts throwing around fuzzy and non-standard accounting terms, your guard needs to go way, way up. And this just nails the point perfectly. The official industry term is loss development. It sounds so technical, so unavoidable. Buffett just relabels it with a single devastatingly honest word: oops. It means management screwed up in the past, their old earnings were wrong, and now they're finally getting around to admitting it. This is all about demanding accountability, even in the language a company uses.
This is one of his greatest analogies, hands down. He tells this story about burying a relative in a rented suit, which of course leads to a whole series of unexpected bills for years and years. It's this incredibly memorable metaphor for long-tail risks, liabilities like asbestos claims that can pop up decades after a policy was written. It's a great reminder to always be asking what rented suits might be hiding on this company's balance sheet.
So, if you understand your scoreboard, if you manage your risk, and you demand honest language, where do you actually find the opportunities to put your money to work? In this letter, Buffett points to two main sources: great people and widespread panic.
Here's the first source of value. He talks about getting a letter from Gene Toombs, the CEO of a company called MiTek. After just one phone call, he knew he wanted to be in business with this guy. He's betting on the jockey, not just the horse. He trusts that high-grade, talented managers can navigate their own industries, and he's more than willing to pay up for that quality. And here's the second source, panic. But notice the discipline here. He says he never buys newly issued junk bonds. He's not interested in whatever story Wall Street is selling that day. No, he waits for distress. During the 2001 crisis, he was buying the debt of troubled companies like Finova and Fruit of the Loom, precisely because everyone else was terrified. He's looking for temporary problems that the market is treating like permanent ones, and that's when he steps in.
And that brings us to this final thought. It's a quote from the Roman poet Horace that Buffett learned from his mentor, Ben Graham. And it just perfectly sums up his entire philosophy. Businesses, fortunes, reputations, they're all cyclical. The darlings of today can easily be the failures of tomorrow, and incredible value can often be found in the wreckage of yesterday's favorites. It's just a profound reminder to stay humble and to never stop that relentless search for true value, especially when things get chaotic. And I guess the question it leaves us with is, what's falling today that might one day be restored?